The Harris household, once seen as hip-hop royalty, has now become the epicenter of one of the most shocking family feuds the industry has ever witnessed. Imagine this: rap legend T.I., the self-proclaimed king of the South, now locked in a bitter courtroom battle knot with a record label, not with a rival rapper, but with his very own flesh and blood. That's right. T.I. is reportedly suing his son, King Harris, for full custody of his own grandson after shocking claims surfaced that King has spiraled so far out of control. He's become a danger to himself and possibly everyone around him. Fans are absolutely stunned, because just months ago, T.I. and his son were spotted together, smiling for cameras, appearing inseparable. But behind those staged smiles, insiders reveal there was chaos, brewing a storm of late-night arguments, explosive confrontations, and accusations that tore the Harris family apart from the inside. Now the drama has spilled out of the family mansion and into the public eye, with T.I. determined to take a drastic step that could redefine his legacy as both a father and a grandfather. What pushed T.I. to take such a drastic move? And how did King react when the shocking lawsuit hit the headlines? Stay tuned. The drama begins in the most unexpected way. Sources close to the family claim that T., who has always carried himself as a strict yet loving father, has finally reached his breaking point after months of watching his son, King Harris, spiral out of control. At first, it was little things: reckless posts on social media, confrontations with fans, late-night rants that made headlines. But insiders whisper that behind closed doors, things were far worse. T allegedly pleaded with King to get help, to focus on his music and step away from the chaos. But instead of listening, King pushed back harder, growing more rebellious by the day. People who once saw King as a rising star now describe him as unpredictable, angry, and ready to fight anyone who dares to criticize him. There were rumors of explosive shouting matches at the family mansion, where neighbors could hear the arguments echoing through the walls. One witness described a night when T and King went head-to-head in the driveway. Voices raised so high that the entire block stopped to listen. It wasn't the usual father-son argument, the witness claimed. It sounded like something that could have turned physical at any second. What shocked fans even more was when T allegedly began recording these confrontations. Insiders say he wanted proof that King was out of control, proof that he wasn't exaggerating. In one supposed recording, King is heard screaming, "I'm not you, I'll never be you. So stop trying to control me." To which T fires back, "I'm not trying to control you. I'm trying to save you before you destroy yourself." That moment, people say, was the start of the custody battle, because not long after, whispers began that King had become a father himself, when news broke that King Harris might be responsible for raising a child while still living in such chaos. T reportedly panicked. Friends of the rapper say he confided in them, saying, "If I don't step in now, I'll lose my son and my grandson too." That was when the idea of custody entered the picture. Not just custody over King's son, but custody over King himself. T didn't want to stand by and watch his legacy crumble under reckless decisions and dangerous choices. But King didn't take the news lightly. According to a family insider, the moment King found out about T's legal plans, he stormed out of the house, slamming doors, vowing never to forgive his father. "You think you can control me through the courts? You'll regret this," he shouted, leaving the mansion in a cloud of anger and resentment. This was the moment fans realized the Harris family wasn't as picture-perfect as it appeared on reality TV. That polished image of a supportive father guiding his children through the spotlight was shattered. Instead, people saw a man torn between his duties as a father and his fears of losing both his son and grandson to the streets. T's wife, Tiny, was reportedly caught in the middle, heartbroken and unsure of whose side to take. "I just want my family back," she reportedly cried to a friend. But they're both too stubborn to see past their pride. And pride became the centerpiece of this unfolding drama. King, refusing to back down, doubled down on his defiance. He took to social media, posting cryptic messages that many interpreted as thinly veiled shots at his father. One post read, "I ain't nobody's puppet. I make my own choices, good or bad." Fans flooded the comments, some supporting his independence, while others begged him to listen to his father before it was too late. What nobody expected? However, was T's legal team moving forward so quickly? Documents were reportedly drafted that painted King as unstable, reckless, and incapable of taking care of himself, let alone a child. These papers included accounts of his public outbursts, fiery confrontations, and even medical reports hinting at possible substance issues. T wasn't playing games. This was war, and it was happening within his own household as the papers were prepared. The family's inner circle began to crumble. Friends who had once cheered for King's career suddenly distanced themselves, afraid of being dragged into the mess. Some even claimed T called them personally, asking if they'd be willing to testify about King's behavior. "He's not in a good place," T allegedly said. "You've seen it yourself. I need you to be honest in court." The idea of airing family secrets in a courtroom shocked everyone. But T seemed determined. King, meanwhile, was plotting his own defense. Instead of staying silent, he told friends he would expose his father's flaws to the world. "Everybody thinks he's this perfect dad, but y'all don't know the half of it." King reportedly told his crew, "If he wants to drag me through the mud, I'll drag him with me." Which, no longer just a father trying to save his son, was a son ready to go to war against the very man who raised him. And in the middle of all this chaos, fans were divided. Some applauded T for stepping up, saying he was doing what any father would do to protect his family. Others criticized him, calling him controlling, accusing him of using the courts to maintain his dominance. "Why sue your own son?" One fan wrote, "You're supposed to guide him, not fight him." Another fired back, "If your child is spiraling, sometimes tough love is the only way." The tension reached a boiling point when T and King crossed paths at a public event. Cameras captured the awkward moment when father and son stood just feet apart, refusing to acknowledge each other. T forced a smile for the cameras, but insiders say the tension was so thick it was almost unbearable. King, on the other hand, looked furious, his jaw clenched, his fists balled up at his sides. Witnesses whispered that security kept a close eye on the pair, fearing that the simmering feud might explode right there in front of flashing lights and rolling cameras. By this point, Tiny was begging them both to find peace. Sources say she sat them down one night in the living room, pleading, "This is tearing us apart. Y'all can't keep going at each other like this. We're family." But her words fell on deaf ears. King stormed out once again, slamming the door behind him, while T sat silently, staring at the floor, knowing the battle had only just begun, as word of the lawsuit leaked to the press. The world couldn't believe what it was hearing. A father suing his own son, not out of hate, but supposedly out of desperation. Still, the public only saw the headlines, not the pain behind them. Fans were left wondering, was T really protecting his family? Or was this about control and ego? And most importantly, how far was King willing to go to fight back? The first shots of the custody war had been fired, and the Harris family name would never be the same again. The stage was set for a battle that promised betrayals, shocking revelations, and twists nobody could have predicted. But what came next would take the feud to an entirely new level, dragging the family deeper into chaos and forcing everyone around them to pick a side. Would T's gamble save his son or destroy their bond forever? The answer would unfold in the next chapter of the spiraling family drama. The fallout from the lawsuit filing sent shockwaves, not only through the Harris household, but also across the entertainment world. Fans, bloggers, and even other celebrities couldn't stop talking about it. Some said T was brave for putting family before image, while others called it the ultimate betrayal. But behind the headlines and hashtags, the real battle was just beginning. Court papers had been filed, lawyers were gearing up, and King was preparing to go on the offensive, according to insiders. The moment King received the official notice, he lost control. He was at a friend's house when the documents were handed to him, and instead of calmly reading them, he allegedly tore the envelope open, skimmed the words, and hurled the papers across the room. "He's suing me like I'm a stranger," King shouted, pacing back and forth. How you gonna put your back and forth? How you gonna put your own son on blast in front of the world? I'll never forgive him." Those close to him say he immediately started planning how to strike back, and King's way of striking back wasn't just legal, it was public. Within days, he went live on social media, looking straight into the camera with a defiant glare. "Everybody think my dad's some perfect man, the king of the South, the family guy," he ranted. "But y'all don't know how he really is behind the scenes. Y'all don't know the stuff I've been through." His words sent fans into a frenzy. Comments poured in, with some siding with King, believing he was finally exposing the truth, while others accused him of being ungrateful and disrespectful. Meanwhile, T stayed silent in public but was reportedly fuming behind closed doors. "He think this a game," T told his inner circle. "He think going on live gonna win him points. But when the judge sees what I got, it's over." T's strategy was clear. Build a case so strong, nobody could question his motives. And to do that, he was prepared to dig into every messy detail of King's recent behavior. Rumors swirled that T's legal team compiled evidence of fights King had gotten into, questionable videos of late-night partying, and even testimony from people who claimed King had put himself and others in dangerous situations. One shocking piece of evidence was said to be a security camera video from inside the family home, showing King throwing furniture during a heated argument. "This ain't about image no more," T reportedly said. "This about saving his life." But while T was building his case, King was plotting his revenge. He wasn't just going to defend himself in court, he wanted to humiliate his father. According to friends, King threatened to reveal secrets about T's past, things that the public had never heard. "He ain't perfect," King reportedly told his crew. "He made mistakes too, and if he want to drag me, I'll drag him right back." Tiny, caught in the middle, was said to be on the verge of breaking down. She confided to a friend, "It feels like I'm losing both of them. They so busy fighting each other, they don't see how much pain this is causing." Her attempts to mediate fell apart when neither father nor son was willing to compromise. Every time she tried to bring them together, it ended with slammed doors, raised voices, and more hurt feelings. Things escalated further when King showed up at a family dinner uninvited. The atmosphere was tense from the moment he walked in. T sat at the head of the table, silent, while Tiny nervously tried to keep the peace. King looked directly at his father and said, "You think you can take my kid away from me? Over my dead body." T, keeping his voice low but firm, replied, "You don't see it, but I'm trying to save you. You ain't ready for the responsibility." The room fell into silence, with the rest of the family staring at their plates, too afraid to get involved. Later that night, sources say King stormed out, vowing to fight harder than ever, and he made good on that promise. He started surrounding himself with people who encouraged his rebellion, hyping him up and convincing him he was in the right. "Don't let him control you," one friend told him. "You've grown. You don't need no man telling you how to live." It's only fueled King's anger and determination. As the court date approached, the media circus grew bigger. Reporters camped outside the courthouse, waiting for any glimpse of the Harris family. Fans debated endlessly online, creating hashtags like #TeamT and #TeamKing. Even celebrities began weighing in. Some defended T, saying a father had every right to step in if his child was out of control. Others accused him of overstepping and embarrassing his family. The drama was no longer private. T had become a full-blown public spectacle. The night before the first hearing, T reportedly had a long talk with Tiny. "What if this ruins everything?" she asked him, tears in her eyes. T shook his head. "If I don't do this, we already ruined. I'd rather him hate me and be alive than love me and destroy himself." Those words showed just how far T was willing to go. The day of court arrived and the tension was unbearable. T walked in dressed sharply, flanked by his legal team. King arrived minutes later, looking defiant, wearing his anger-like armor. The two locked eyes across the room, and witnesses say it felt like the entire world stopped. The judge entered, and the case began. T's lawyers wasted no time, presenting evidence of King's behavior, painting a picture of a young man spiraling out of control. They showed videos, read witness statements, and even hinted at moments where King may have endangered his own child. The courtroom gasped as the details came spilling out. Each revelation more shocking than the last. When it was King's turn, he fired back. His team argued that T was using his power and influence to control his son, refusing to let him live his own life. King himself took the stand, his voice shaking with emotion. "My dad want everybody to think he the hero," he said. "But he don't listen to me. He don't care what I want. He just care about his image." The raw emotion in his voice had some people in the courtroom tearing up, while others shook their heads, convinced he was playing the victim. The family was divided. The fans were divided, and even the judge seemed overwhelmed by the chaos. Whispers spread that the case might drag on for months, tearing the family apart even further. But nobody could have predicted the shocking twist that came next. One that would leave both T and King reeling, just as the first day of testimony wrapped up. A bombshell revelation surfaced. Something that would flip the entire narrative on its head and push the feud into dangerous new territory. The drama had only just begun, and the next chapter would expose secrets that neither father nor son ever expected to face, as the courtroom doors closed behind the Harris family that day. Whispers of the shocking revelation spread like wildfire. People who were there described the atmosphere as electric, almost cinematic. The twist came when a surprise witness stepped forward, someone nobody expected to see. According to insiders, it was a former family associate, someone who had been close to both T and King, and they claimed to have information that could shake the entire case. This witness, with a trembling voice, alleged that T's real motivation for suing wasn't just about protecting King or his grandchild Dit, was also about control of money and family reputation. "He's scared King's mistakes gonna tarnish the empire he built," the witness claimed. "This ain't just about safety, it's about brand protection." The courtroom erupted in murmurs, with King smirking triumphantly while T clenched his jaw. Visibly shaken by the accusation, King seized on this moment like a lion on its prey. As the witness spoke, he leaned forward and whispered to his lawyer, who quickly requested permission for King to make a statement. The judge reluctantly allowed it, and King stood up, glaring at his father. "You see, it's never about me. It's always about him, about his image, about his name. He don't care if I hurt, if I struggle. He just don't want to look bad. And now he want to take my child, my blood, away from me. Nah, I ain't letting that happen." The rawness of his words sent chills through the courtroom. Fans outside, following updates in real time, began flooding social media with comments. "King speaking his truth," one user wrote. Another countered. "This is manipulation. T trying to save him, not ruin him." The internet became a battlefield of opinions, memes, and fiery debates. Meanwhile, Tiny was crumbling under the pressure. Insiders say she left the courthouse in tears, unable to watch her husband and son tear each other apart so viciously. "It's like watching my family burn down right in front of me," she reportedly told a close friend, "and I can't stop it." Her pleas for peace seemed powerless, drowned out by the noise of accusations, betrayal, and broken trust. But the drama didn't stop there. That evening, King took to social media again, this time going even further. He posted a video of himself talking about his father's supposed past mistakes, though he didn't name specifics. The cryptic comments fueled speculation that King might expose damaging secrets about T's past dealings, both personal and professional. "Everybody think he perfect," King said in the video. But wait until the truth come out. Fans were left on edge, wondering if King was bluffing or if he really had dirt that could devastate his father's career. T, on the other hand, stayed silent publicly, but behind the scenes, he was reportedly furious. "He playing with fire," T told his inner circle. "He think dragging me down gonna make him rise, but all it's gonna do is hurt him worse." His team began strategizing not just for court, but for the court of public opinion. Every move was carefully calculated: what to leak, what to deny, what to spin. As the second day of court resumed, the drama escalated even more. T's lawyers presented new evidence, this time focusing on King's volatile behavior around his own child. One report described a terrifying night when neighbors allegedly heard shouting and crying coming from King's apartment. The prosecution painted it as evidence that King wasn't capable of safely raising his child. Gasps echoed through the courtroom, and King's face turned red with rage. "That's a lie," he shouted, pounding the table. The judge had to call for order as tensions boiled over. The moment was so intense that some feared it would turn physical. T sat there quietly, his eyes filled with a mix of anger and sorrow, watching his son unravel in front of everyone. It was the very image T wanted the court to see: that King was unstable, emotional, and unfit. But for King, it felt like betrayal on the deepest level, as though his father had weaponized his worst moments against him later that night. King was spotted out with his friends, looking defeated but still defiant. Paparazzi captured him, leaving a club, muttering under his breath, "He ain't gonna win. I don't care what it take." The photos went viral, further fueling the narrative that King was spiraling. Fans debated whether the young man was simply misunderstood or truly on the edge of collapse. In the days that followed, more revelations poured out. One close family friend went on record saying, "This is the darkest I've ever seen them. It's like a war zone. Nobody talking, everybody choosing sides. And the love they used to show, it's gone." The once tight-knit family was fractured beyond recognition. Their dirty laundry aired out for the entire world to dissect. But the biggest twist came when King hinted that he wasn't fighting alone. During another live session, he smirked and said, "Y'all think it's just me against him? But watch who show up next." Fans immediately began speculating, was another family member about to take the stand? Was King planning to bring in his siblings to testify against their father? The suspense was unbearable. Tiny, desperate to prevent further damage, tried once again to intervene. She called both T and King separately, begging them to meet and talk it out before the next hearing. But neither budged. T said, "I tried talking, all he'd do is yell." King said, "He ain't hearing me, so what's the point?" The rift was too deep, the wounds too raw. As the next court date approached, the city buzzed with anticipation. Reporters camped out days in advance. Fans argued endlessly online. And the entertainment world braced for another round of explosive drama. Would King bring new allies to his side? Would T reveal even more damaging evidence? The stakes had never been higher. And just when it seemed things couldn't get more intense, a shocking rumor spread that one of King's siblings was considering siding with him in court, ready to testify about T's strict parenting and controlling ways. If true, this would shatter the family even further, turning brother against father in a public spectacle that nobody could have imagined. The Harris family saga had turned into a full-blown war, with each side preparing to deliver the knockout blow. Fans were glued to their screens, waiting for the next twist, the next betrayal, the next shocking revelation. And as the third act of this drama unfolded, it was clear this wasn't just a custody battle anymore. This was a fight for legacy, love, and the truth. And neither side was willing to back down. But the most explosive moment was still to come. One that would not only divide the family forever, but also force T and King to face the darkest truths they had both been hiding. The courtroom buzzed with tension as the fourth day of hearings began. Cameras flashed outside, fans screamed from behind barricades. And inside the courthouse, the air was thick with anticipation. Everyone was waiting to see whether the rumors were true. Would one of King's siblings really turn against their father and testify on his behalf? When the doors opened and in walked Domani Harris, T's other son, whispers filled the room like wildfire. Domani, usually private and soft-spoken, the last person anyone expected to take sides. Domani looked nervous as he walked to the witness stand. T shifted uncomfortably in his seat, his eyes narrowing. King, on the other hand, leaned back with a smug grin, whispering to his lawyer, "Told you he'd show up." When Domani was sworn in, the judge asked if he was willing to share his perspective on his father's relationship with King. Domani hesitated for a long moment before speaking. "My dad loves us, no question," he began. "But sometimes his way of showing love is strict, controlling. It don't always feel like love." Gasps echoed through the room. T's face fell, the pain visible in his eyes. King smirked wider, feeding off the moment. Domani continued, "I'm not saying King is perfect, he got his own issues. But sometimes the pressure from Dad makes it worse. Instead of helping, it pushes him to act out." His words cut through the courtroom like a knife, leaving the family's image in tatters. T's lawyer tried to regain control, questioning Domani about specific examples, but the damage was done. King had successfully turned the spotlight away from himself and onto his father. Fans outside erupted with mixed reactions, some cheering Domani's bravery, others condemning him for betraying his father. After court adjourned that day, T reportedly confronted Domani in the hallway, his voice low but filled with hurt. "You, my son, you really gone stand up there and paint me like that?" Domani avoided his gaze, muttering, "I just told the truth." T shook his head, his voice breaking. Truth without context is a lie. Tiny, standing between them, begged them both to stop. But the cracks in the family were now gaping wounds. King, meanwhile, celebrated the small victory. He went live again, bragging that even his siblings were seeing the truth. "They know I ain't crazy. They know I ain't the problem," he told viewers, his chest puffed out with pride. But behind the bravado, sources close to him claimed he was still scared of losing his child, scared of losing the fight, and most of all, scared of losing whatever little bond remained between him and his father. The following day, T came prepared for war. His legal team presented a bombshell piece of evidence: text messages allegedly sent by King, threatening violence during a heated argument. One read, "If you try to take my kid, you gon' regret it." Another said, "I don't care if I burn this whole family down." The courtroom fell into stunned silence as the texts were read aloud. King's face drained of color, his earlier confidence melting away. When it was his turn to respond, King insisted the texts were taken out of context, written in anger but never meant to be taken seriously. "Everybody say things they don't mean when they're mad," he argued. "That don't make me a danger to nobody." But the damage was undeniable. The judge looked deeply concerned, scribbling notes as the lawyers went back and forth. Outside the courthouse, fans and media dissected every detail. Hashtags like #JusticeForKing and #PrayForT trended simultaneously. Celebrities continued to weigh in, some offering prayers, others taking sides. One famous rapper tweeted, "Family shouldn't be airing their business in court. Sit down and talk it out." But talking seemed impossible at this point. By the final hearing, the tension reached its peak. T, exhausted but resolute, made a heartfelt statement to the judge. "I ain't doing this to control my son. I'm doing this because I love him. I'd rather he hate me today than bury him tomorrow. If I gotta be the villain in his story to save his life, so be it." His voice cracked as he spoke, and for the first time, King looked conflicted. His anger flickered, replaced briefly by something softer: hurt, maybe even understanding. But when it was his turn, King refused to back down completely. With tears in his eyes, he said, "All I ever wanted was for my dad to hear me, not judge me. He don't trust me, don't respect me. And now he want to take away the one thing that give me purpose, my child? If he think that gonna fix things, he wrong. It'll only make me hate him forever." The room was silent, the raw emotion gripping everyone present. The judge, overwhelmed by the evidence and the emotional testimonies, announced that a final decision would take weeks. The family left the courthouse divided, fans left with more questions than answers, and the world left hanging on the edge of suspense. Outside, T and King crossed paths once more. Cameras caught the chilling moment, father and son, just feet apart, eyes locked, neither speaking. Tiny stood between them, tears streaming down her face, whispering, "Please, just stop." Before it's too late, but neither man moved, their pride too heavy, their wounds too deep, as the cars pulled away and the crowd dispersed. One thing was clear. This battle wasn't just about custody anymore. It was about love twisted into control, pride turned into pain, and a family torn apart in front of the world. The future of the Harris family hung in the balance, with everyone waiting to see whether healing was even possible or if this feud had carved scars too deep to ever fade. And though the court dates had ended for now, the story was far from over. Both T and King were preparing for the next move, the next revelation, the next chapter in a saga that had become bigger than music, bigger than fame, bigger than family itself. Fans were left breathless, waiting to see who would emerge victorious and what it would cost them in the end. And so, the saga of T and King. Harris closes for now, leaving fans stunned, divided, and desperate for answers. A father who built an empire, now fighting to protect his legacy and his family. And a son who refuses to be controlled, willing to risk everything to prove his independence. The courtroom battles, the public outbursts, the betrayals, and the tears have painted a picture of a family on the brink, torn apart by pride, fear, and love that hurts as much as it heals, but with the judge delaying a final decision. The future of the Harris family hangs in suspense. Will T's gamble pay off and save his son before it's too late? Or will King's determination to stand his ground prove stronger than his father's control? Will Tiny's pleas finally bring peace to her home? Or will the war rage on until there's nothing left to salvage? These are the questions fans can't stop asking, and the answers remain locked behind closed doors. What do you think? Is T right for stepping in and taking the fight to court? Or is King justified in demanding his freedom to live his own life? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because we want to hear from you. And if you've been hooked by this drama, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next twist in this unbelievable story. Trust Usu, don't want to miss what happens next.